Hey folks, I hope you are doing really great. So we are coming with another session on design. So today for today we have invited expert from industry, Mr. Rahul Bhadoria. So sir is doing his Hey Rahul.
Hey
Yep.
Anubhav, thank you for inviting me.
So he's a lead designer at Team Paisi, and he's into no code domains. So he's also doing design from since last 8 years, being with visual designs or UI UX. So it will be really great to learn some core UI concepts from Mr. Rahul. So I hope you are going to enjoy the talk. And for the continuity of month of learning, it's a second workshop. First we have Android, then we had design, and we are upcoming with the development. So stay tuned and keep learning. Over to Mr. Rahul.
Thank you, Anubhav. I'm just going to share my screen. Give me 2 seconds.
Sure.
Let me know if you guys can see my screen.
Yep, it's visible.
Can you see the PPT slides?
Yep.
Cool. Hey, welcome everyone. So today we'll talk about design journey. Before we jump into it, I think Anubhav gave a great intro, but I still like to add some things about me here also. So hi, I'm Rahul Bhadoria. I'm a lead visual designer at Epic. It's a no-code studio which work with code and no-code both. So yep, no offense to code guys. Now, let's understand let's understand where I come from. So I'm a self-taught commerce guy. What I studied, my degree is master in commerce, and then I got into design. Before getting into design, I worked 4 years into a typical commerce kind of account type of job. But while working on that, I figured out that design is what I like more. What I like to create art, what I like to create is create stuff, not work with numbers. So that's first conception where people think that you need a degree to work in a design. You don't even need education. You don't even need to go to any design colleges or anything. You can taught yourself also. Internet is full for that. So just let's bust that myth first. Now, in the last 8 years, I started with printing job. That's the first thing any designer on that time used to do when they needed to get into design. Right now, people can get directly into UX design. On that time, it was different. While printing, I've joined a design agency. While working with the agency, I work with brands like IBM, Adobe, Vodafone, Samsung. And in the last 2 years, I transitioned to UX and UX design. Now let's understand the simplest way what is design. Now there's confusion a little bit where people connect art to design. Art and design both are pretty different things. Art is something which you create for yourself. Design is something which you create for your user. So always keep that in mind if you want to distinguish what is art or design. If you're creating something which is making you happy, the painter or the artist making happy, then it's art. But if you're creating something which is going to make a user, a person who's going to use that device or that technology happy, that is design. Now, in definition, it's the creation of a plan or convention for the construction of an object, system, or measurable human interaction. For example, architecture blueprints, engineering drawings, business processes, circuit diagrams, and even sewing patterns. So anything which a human will interact, you design that. That is design, right? It can be anything. It can be a chair. It can be a bed. It can be even a small electric plug you design. It's still design. Now there are multiple type of designs, and which we'll see in next slides. Now let's understand, as I said, that everything is designed. Everything is designed by someone. Even the small ball you use to play cricket with is designed with someone, so it bounces to a level, it goes to a distance. Everything is thought process. Again, the same myth I'm going to burst, that design is not about making things pretty. It's not about knowing Photoshop or any other design tool, because that is visual design. That comes after you have done the lot of work in the design industry. Then you go on to the visual part of it. Some people go first on the visual part of it. Like I come from the visual part of the design, right? I haven't done any study. I started with visual only, started with the graphic design, and then gone to UI and UX. So that is a part of the design and like whole universe, but not the one thing. So if you feel that you can't make things pretty, don't worry, you can still be a designer. Let's understand human-centered design. Now, this is really important to understand because when you're gonna work on UI and UX, your first priority will always will be the user, who we're gonna assume till now is a human. In future, if you work for AIs, that will be different. But right now, it's human. So human-centered design. The best example of it is chair. Till now, if you go on Google this keyword, you will find this chair example. It's one of the best ones. It's a creative approach to problem solving, and the process it will go ahead. So people wanted to sit. You can sit on floor. People used to sit on walls and everything. But the creative approach was how we can make that sitting really comfortable. So people designed a chair which is tailored for the user, which is, for example, let's say me, right? For me, this chair is really perfect because it gives me a headrest, it gives me a back support, and it gives me a good steady support to sit on, right? So that is also a design. This chair is also design. It's industrial design. We'll see in categories which come this into design, but this is also design. So always keep in mind when you're working on someone, working with something, or working for someone, you always keep this one thing that user is the top priority. You might like something, but if it's not going to work for user, remove it. No need of that. Let's see some good examples, some bad example of design. So this one, even as a developer, you guys might know because this is pretty famous. Apple's mouse. I mean, we all have seen tons and tons of articles on this, that how when they design this mouse, the charging cable is a pain. You can't use it. You can't do work while charging on it. The position the mouse is when charging is not natural. It looks odd to human eyes, right? And then there's Logitech's MX2, MX31, which is designed obviously taking from Apple's problems and making them much better. This is the example of good and bad design. It's not about how pretty it looks. I mean, Apple's mouse, if you see on front, it looks very pretty, it looks very minimal. But if it's not working, it's bad design. Let's do an exercise right now. Wherever you're sitting, t- take a photo of a good object and take a photo of bad object and put that into Discord. Anubhav, can you guide them with which channel? Anubhav?
Hello. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
I think Anubhav
Uh,
is, yeah. Which channel they
yep.
want have to post this on?
So we have made a designed out channel. You can post a picture there, right? And we'll be featuring that in the theme.
Cool. And after the end of the slide, we'll go there and we'll see what you guys have posted.
Yep.
Now, remember I talked about design categories, like which type of designs there are. We'll go into detail right now. So the first thing, simplest here are, I haven't got into section by section. Like people right now have used multiple designations. They call them brand designers. They call them product designers is the one. Then they call them even digital product designers, app designers, web designers. There are multiple types of subcategories inside this, but these are the top six categories when you come to design. I have removed fashion because that was not on our part of side as a developer. So I have removed that one. But other than those, these six are the top designs which you can get without even, let's say, a degree or education. You can learn these by your own self. The first and the most famous one is graphic design. I mean, Canva has made it's pretty simple for everyone to get into graphics. You can just open Canva, choose a template, start working on it, and slowly, you will get into graphic design. In graphic design, there's logo, brand identity, social media graphics, printing design, campaign designs. There are tons of stuff which you can do if you're a graphic designer. There also the primary goal is to create it for the viewer who's gonna see your designs, right? If you're creating a logo, you should always focus on who's gonna see that logo. So again, graphic design, animation design. Now, this obviously is more technical than graphic design. Graphic design was on the visual part of it, where you work, what you see on, right? If you're making one change, you can see it the next second. So if you're someone who likes to see their work like every few seconds, who like to see their work come to life as fast as possible, graphic design for you. But if you are someone who likes to be more technical, who likes to take time to perfect things and create stuff which in long term will look amazing, you are for animation design. Now, animation, as we have seen in Pixar's and Disney movies, that is what we call animation design. You design a character and to make that one hand move, you have to put hours of hours work. So if you're gonna get into animation design, make sure that you have the patience for it, because that one creation of that one hand movement will take you hours to you can see that creation of yours. So that is for animation design. Then motion graphic design. Now this comes similar to animation, but you don't go into that much of detail of hourly work. You still do work which you can see, but it just takes more time than graphic design, but less time than animation. So for example, anything that moves, you create that with motion graphic design. The examples are 2D videos, which you see, explanatory videos, 3D videos also. Sometimes if you don't want to animate them, you can create a simple movement from that. The best example is explainer videos. People on world explain their businesses through motion graphic design, right? So when you graphic designer creates storyboards, create a story, and then you make motion off of it. So it's not static, it's moving, it's dynamic. That's why motion graphic design is really important. Industrial product design. So now when we come to Apple's mouse design, it's designed with industrial, it's designed by a industrial product designer. So what is a product designer? It's a person who design actual products which you can use in your real life. So not digital products like UX designer or product designers, but actual products. For example, the mouse. For example, the chair. For example, your watch. Even if the watch you're wearing, the dials, how the dials will look, how the dials will fit, the actual use a human will use on their body or their like in their real life. It's designed by a product industrial product designer. It's a really fascinating industry to go into, but it definitely, if you are new and if you have time to invest, it's a great industry. It takes some time to learn about it. For industrial, you might need to get a degree because it's more on the psychological, it's more on the technical part of it. So self learning, while it works, but it can be not that good as simple as graphic design. Then we come to the topic of ourselves, UI and UX design. Now, UI and UX both are pretty different. I think in the last session of yesterday's, guys have understood what is UI and what is UX. So UI is for people who are more on the visual part of it, who like to see things, who like to create things based on what they can see and make them pretty, right? But even doing that, you need to keep in mind that UX is really important. The best example would be cred looks amazing, right? But still some people still points out that they have issues while getting to their cards, getting to their points and what they're paid or not. They are making it perfect slowly, but it needs to be even beautiful. It needs to still have good UX. That is really important. Keep that in always in mind when you're creating, or if you're thinking of going a UI, keep in mind that you will have to study some bit of UX to make sure that UI is perfect. Then UX is pretty straightforward. User experience. If your user's experience of using your product is amazing, you are a good UX designer. But if it's getting frustrated, it's bad, you need to work on your skills. So a good example of bad UX would be government websites. I mean, the way you get frustrated when you go onto the website, for example, even if it's IRCTC is booking a ticket, uh, even if income tax website where you have to fill your return, it's pain. It's really painful to work on those. It's frustrating. Nobody is excited to go to that website and work on it, right? But you're excited to go on Twitter, but you're excited to go on Facebook, not because there's a community, but you like the experience they give you. You like the way that those apps make you feel, right? The way you can easily like someone, the way you can easily talk to someone. You go from point A to point B pretty easily, pretty smoothly with a good UX. Now remember this: if there's good UI but bad UX, the product won't work. But if there's bad UI and good UX, the product still will work because it's functional, right? In beta testing, in MVPs, when we create minimal viable products, we take UI at the last end. We start first with the user experience. Even if it's looking bad as hell, even if it's looking like it's designed by a 10 years old, still it will work because the user can still use the products. So always remember UI and UX. UX is the priority, then comes UI. As I said, if you have a bad UI, your app is not looking good, but it's serving its purpose, is giving value to the users and giving a good experience, they'll still use it. Even if this is hurting their eyes, still they'll use it, and you can they make it better. Then we're coming to architectural design. Now, architectural design is similar to industrial, but architecture is simple. You design houses, again, something which human interacts with, right? We live in this for our whole life. Once you design a house, you can't design it every few days, right? It's once it's designed, it's gonna be there for centuries, right? It's gonna be years and years. So architecture design is really important. You as humans, we interact them daily, every day, and we are there every day. So it's really important to take care of them. So these are the six top categories in design. As I said, there are multiple subcategories. If you want to get into UX design, you can just be a UI designer. You don't want to get into UX, you get into UI design, you just work on the visual. If you want to be, you can just be a UX designer. You do the research, you don't work on the visual side. For example, if you like to research, if you like to talk to people, you can be a UX designer, you can interview people, not work on the UI part of it. Always available there. Even in graphic design, if you just want to create logos by IITs, you can just do that. No need to cover the whole graphic design category of campaign, social media, and printing. If you want to be in printing, you want to create magazines, you can go into graphic design, choose that one in specific category. So inside of these, there are multiple subcategories. I'll be in Discord. So if you guys have any questions, post it there. I'll talk to you guys about that. But you can also Google and you'll find those different typical categories. Now, one question, one thing which I want to tell you, that if you Google, most of the top designers like Paul Rand and everything, everyone were engineers or developers before they get into design. Many designers have engineering degrees or tech degrees, and then they go into design, because in a sense both are pretty simple. Even if you're coding, you're creating it for user, right? You're creating a product which will make the user feel, serve a purpose and work on something. Design is simpler, but like similar, but just with a visual part added to it. So you now not only just do the back end, you also work on the front end. So if you are someone who has that creative mind, who wants to work with people, like to people, and then you can do this, we'll see more reason why you should get into this design in the next slides. The first and the most simple one is deep empathy for humans. So, for example, there are many jobs in which you work for your own self. You work for your own happiness, for your satisfaction, right? But there are jobs where you work for the users. First, the first and the top one is hospitals, medical, right? You work for the patients, right? So that empathy towards humans, that empathy to make their life better, is the first and the most uh, important reason for you to kind of design. If you want to make your users' life easier, happier, and the experience better, and you have that empathy when you feel bad for people when they're getting a bad experience, you are gonna be a good designer, because you can feel that empathy, you can feel their pain, so you can definitely empathize with them and make it much better for them. Visual appreciation. Now this again, a visual, not everyone has that eye where they can just see something and like, okay, this will look good visually like this, right? So if you feel that, okay, you can see stuff where colors and fonts talk to you, you see them, okay, this looks better than this color, you know, the those combination, by just by seeing stuff, you can get into design. There are many categories which just focus on visual, but you don't have to do any user research, you don't have to work on any documentation, just the visual part of it. So if you feel that you have something, the easiest, like the simplest way people still says that in school, if you used to sketch, you can still get into design. That is, I feel that is a myth. I don't do sketching, I don't do drawing, but I can still design. So not necessary, but that is a starting point, because you can see visual cues, you can see how does the visuals work, how does the graphics work, and the kind of design. Design solves problem. Now this connect with empathy when you feel bad for people and you want to solve problems. For example, if you see something which is bad, let's say you see a broken door hinge, right? You get to fix it. That is a mindset of solving problems, and that's really important. If you have that, you can still work in design. You can choose UX design for that specific, and when you solve the problems which exist, nobody have thought about it, and you bring a new perspective to solve those problems for your users. The fourth one is my favorite. You get paid for being creative. I mean, there are people who wants to do same job, same work every single day. Appreciate them. They are happy with them. I'm not that kind of guy. I need to do creative. I need to do something new every single day, and I'm getting paid for it. So fun, still getting paid. What's bad in it, right? The next thing is you work in constantly changing field. As I said, that in the last 8 years, I started with printing, then I got into graphic design, then into no code, then into product design. So it's constantly changing, right? After sometimes there might be AR, there might be VR, right? Which you were designing for. So it's constantly changing and it's always a new exploration. So it's not like that you learn something and you don't know have anything else to learn in design industry. It's gonna keep changing with metaverse, with Web3. Things are more opening. Like people as a designer now, I'm focusing more on the Web3 space where I'm designing for that specific case, right? So that is totally new to me. Even after 8 years, I don't know anything about it. I'm still learning about that type of design, that type of work. So it's always something new is for work is always there for you. So if you like to create something new every single day, it's the job for you. Design is the work for you. Every day is different, similar to as said that every day you will get a new problem, you will work on something different. If you're working in a product startup, you work on a single product but you focus on different problems. But if you're working in a design agency, it is similar to a IT company where you create everything, right? You create dashboards, you create apps, mobile apps, and everything. The similar thing is in design. If you're in a design agency, you can work on social media one day you're working on social media campaigns for a, let's say, eyewear company. Another day you're designing a packaging for a food company, right? So there are multiple. Every day you work on something new, interact with new people, and that is there. You get to see people interact with your work. Now this is really important because whenever you create products, you can always say, "Hey, I designed cred, and a thousand people are using it," and you see how they react to your work. I mean, that's kind of a legacy, and that's my kind of a reason where I want what I when I why I went into product design is so I can see people interacting with my work. I can say even if when I die, that app will be still there, right? People can I can still even my kids, my grandkids can say that okay, this was designed by my grandfather, my father, right? This was started with that. He designed the experience, and there is something that some interactions which you only add, and you can say that interaction was added by yourself. So that sense of ownership, that sense of legacy is there. So if you want to leave an impact on the world even after you're gone and want to create something which can go under like that, design can help you with that. I mean, the best example would be Paul Rand designed Apple logo. There was many logo designers who have worked on different products, but the way Apple grown, Paul Rand grows with it, right? If Apple becomes Apple's a $1 trillion company, if it's growth higher than that, we'll still remember who designed the logo because that's the front of it. So while he might not have been famous in that time, his time that much, but now for centuries he'll always be remembered. Every designer will learn about Paul Rand because of Apple. Now the logo is amazing, right? Logo is good, but the reason logo is working because the product they are creating. If the logo is good but the product is bad, nobody will remember that logo because the company won't work. It will sit down and people will move on. So even when you're working, you need to choose who you work with. So it's really amazing. Like I enjoy every day working with designers or users and seeing them interact with my design and feel the emotions on their faces. Right, it's a different feeling. Now this is really 2022 is a great time to get into design. Uh, the reason being, everything is digital. Because of COVID, we all got into digital field, virtual, where we are talking Zoom to Zoom. I mean, it's bad to say, but in because of COVID, designers have grown better than any other industry, or tech. Digital people have grown, even coders, developers have grown. Then physical people, like physical industries, people are working, right. So right now there are multiple opportunities in that field. That's the first point. The second point is startups. In the last year, we got more unique and unicorn startups than the last 10 years we had, right? So the more startups will be there, the more unicorn startups will be there, the more designers will be needed, the more creative people will be needed. And now startups understand the designer is the first thing they need, or like obviously after the developer, but the first thing they need to make it simpler for user to use their product. So the demand is there. There are tons of startups getting new startups getting into the scene every single day. So the demand is there, and this is why it's the right time to get into design. And this is also the most paid and the most great time to be a creator. Like the creative industry, creative economy is flowing right now. And as a designer, you don't just create for a product, you can also create for your own self. You can create templates, designs. You can be a part of that creator economy, right? You can create ebooks and everything. So this is the one of the best time to be a creator for the passive income part of it. But even as a job, even as a day career, still product design is something which has opened its door to everyone. And because of the COVID, people are trying to get into more digital, right? They're like, for example, meetings, which used to be physical, are now on Zoom, virtual. Now, this to make it as simpler and add good experience as a physical meeting, there needs to be a designer who can think from a user's perspective, who can think how I'll make this easier for my users so they don't feel the transition from a physical meeting to a virtual meeting on Zoom. So that is also a job of a designer. So products, as slowly we'll get into virtual industry with metaverse and the whole virtual thing, AR, VR. We'll need more designers. So this is the right time to get into design. And thank you. I think if you guys have any questions, we'll take it and we'll move ahead with that.
Yep, we do have some questions, so they'll be appearing on the screen right here. So Mohit
Yeah.
was asking about animation design, right?
Yeah, Mohit. So the industry standard is Mac, 40X, and you can use Adobe's After Effects, but it's not that good. Adobe has Adobe Animation, but the industry uses 40X, which is the best ones. I can share you the link on the Discord, and you can check there.
Sure. So Mehul was asking like, does UI include animations as well? UX and UI.
Okay, that is a good question. So not animations, but interactions. So how does that work? Is you design a whole animation. What you design is interaction. For example, if you're clicking on a button, the button goes from gray to green. That's an interaction. You see, you've touched something. Now UI and UX both is about touch, the senses, right? You're seeing something, you're touching something. When you touch that, that button goes to green. That is interaction, which you need to do. For example, the example is Swiggy. So when you order something for Swiggy and you tip, there's a confetti which comes out, which doesn't need it, but there is an interaction which we added. So to create the confetti, you need an animation. But teams and design industries have their own animators who create those. You can tell them, hey, I need a confetti animation. They can give you that, and then you can make give it into the UX part of it. So again, that confetti gives me a emotion of happiness. Okay, I did something good, right? I tipped someone.
Yeah.
So hey, yay! So that's the feeling. That's interaction. Another example would be when you use an iPhone to set up a alarm clock, right? If you use that, you'll feel a vibration. You'll feel a vibration which will move here from there, right? Which works like actual clock. So when you tone that clock, you feel a vibration in your hand. The same interaction is happening on the app to give it more user to real to virtual life experience, right? That those kind of interaction you have to think. Animation is a part of it. You can learn it if you know. It's amazing because you don't need another person to design those for you. The good example would be Sapta. Sapta Rishi is a UX designer in Swiggy, a design lead. He knows motion design. So whenever he creates something to explain it to CEOs or stakeholders, he doesn't need animators. What he can do is he can design by themselves and then propose that idea to stakeholders or designers, right? So it's helpful, but it doesn't only include. You can learn it. It's good.
Yeah. So we have Anmol. Anmol is asking like, should he start with web development first or UI UX? So what should be his path in to become a good developer or designer, whatever?
If you want to be a developer who can design, start with web dev first. The reason is because a good designer definition is while I can design something on Figma pretty easily because I can move them things, but the actual the technical part is development wise. If that transition is not happening, it's not gonna go look good. It's not gonna even if it's look pretty, it's not gonna work good, right? So even as a designer, I work with developers every day, and I understand what they do. I even when I joined the company I am right now, it's a no code studio, right? The primary goal is to work with no code tools, but they still for the few months they set me with a developer and asked me to work with him side by side on their tools to understand the pain they go through, to understand what is possible, what is not possible. We're designers, sometimes we have a full free artboard where we can move anything anywhere, right? So we are like, acha, isko aisa kar dete hain, this will look amazing. but we don't think technical part of it. Is it possible when you create? For example, the best one would be the box theory, right? I understood that when developer creates something on code, CSS, anywhere, they see everything in boxes. They don't see round shapes like us as designer. They don't see different shapes. They see a box. In that box, there's that shape. So now whenever I design, I keep in that in mind of keeping everything in the grid. Or even if I'm keeping out something out of grid, I always think, okay, how the developer is gonna make this in a box and align that on website. So start with development first, and once you get some hang of it, once you know about that, get into UX instead of UI, because development to UX is pretty similar. Here again, you're working for users, you're thinking of how they can click and where they can click. And so the thing is, you can create a backend, right? So with development, there you get that covered. When you get to UX, you can create a bad front end, not very beautiful front end, but a front end which works. So you go to UX, and once you can create a good experience, right? I can show you many SaaS softwares right now which don't look that good, but still people use it because it works, right? It gives them what they need.
Yep.
One of the product I launched in the few months, Super DMs, is a similar. I was as a founder, I was a designer, but still it doesn't design anything. It looks very bad. I mean, as a designer standard, if you'll see, you won't even know it's designed. But people are still using it because it's serving their purpose, it's functioning. So you get into UX, and when you get into UX, then you can go into UI. And that is again a choice. Yeah, Mohit.
Yep. So our next question is, Ankur is asking like, do we need to code in designing? I hope that's a pretty no. And yesterday we were making a meme and we were making a joke around. So that never mess with. If you are a developer, you should never mess with company designers. They'll make your life hard. So
No,
yep,
I mean, the thing is that that's empathy, remember? So
yep,
that's the first rule of designing. If you're working as a designer, you need to even have empathy for your developers. You have to understand what they're feeling. I mean, nobody wants to make your life hell just out of blue, right? They have a reason.
yep,
There might be some design which I'm creating which are not transitioning well on development, and maybe it's wasting his time or her time by development, and that's why they hate me as a designer, right? So if I can empathize with them, understand what the issue they have, I can make their life better and they'll make my life better. But the coding part of it, no. Like in designing, you really need coding. But if you have knowledge of development side of it, it can help. Obviously, it's a plus one. For example,
yep,
I don't know any line of coding, but I still work in Webflow, which gives an output in code. So if I when I design something visually, when I export that, it gives me a code. Now I know about flex boxes. I know about div blocks only because I work on Webflow. I understood that okay, that is how coders create websites. And now because I
yep,
know that, I can understand even create one box. I can empathize with them because in Figma I just copy and paste an image and done. But when I'm coding or I'm designing Webflow, I have to give it a first div class, then give it a percentage of width and height, then give it a rounded error edge, then even have to make them responsive to the different images work in different sizes, right?
yep,
So now I feel that okay, as a developer, the person needs to do tons of works more than me when I'm creating a single screen. It will take him or her more time to develop that screen than it took me to design it. So I feel more empathized about towards them and keep that in mind while designing something. To think, okay, if I'll make this image square, not give it round edge, it will be easier for them because right, if I give a round edge in Figma, for example, let's say right, and they export and it's rounded, they can't do anything with it, right? So for while giving even design assets, I keep that in mind and make their life easier. So yeah, coding is not necessary, but if you know, it's plus one because you can empathize more with the developers. So it will definitely help.
yep. So the next common question is like how to get started with the design as a career, because most of the college placements and stuff, they force users to go into software development or do data structures and algorithms. When getting into design at off-campus opportunities, it is a revolutionary idea that needs motivation and support from guys like you in order to get into design, right? Because if we have like 100 persons doing data structures, we have just two doing design. So the proportion is blown out of it is blown out of proportion because of the current environment at college. So that's why we are
Mhm.
organizing such workshops. So if you can just motivate us like how to get started.
Sure, sure.
Yep.
So getting into design now has become pretty easy. If we talk about the off-campus thing, That's a little complicated because you need to choose your company right. I can share 5 or 6 of my friends who joined as developers in the industry in a company, but because the designers there, the people who are working there, they saw them and they are like, okay, this guy can be a good designer because he has the all the feelings and he can empathize with the users. So they transition while they were in the company into design, learning with an actual expert on the field, right? So when you're choosing a company, you can choose that. And the other way, like I would have said that you can try self-taught design, but now the time is not that uh, nicer to people like those, because everyone, you can just pay a few amount in 6 months and learn from industry expert. For example, the one would be Booth School. The founders of my are mentor there. They teach UI and UX design there in workshops, right? So you can learn from there. And what you can do is you need, before you go on campus hiring and you join a company, you need to have some bits of design understanding. You can do simple courses, you can do online courses, you can do even workshops. Because of virtual, everything is available right now. If you'll go on Twitter and search for it, you will find one easily. And once you do that, when you join some company, you can always transition from inside the company. Because again, when the myth of a degree is gone. If you're a designer without a degree, it doesn't matter. You don't need an IT degree or an IT degree for to get into design, right? Even if you have a proof of work, if you have some work which can show that okay, you can design, they'll hire you. I mean, I can give you an example of people who got hired on Twitter who are not even designers. They created a resume out of, let's say, a video. They created a design, right? And people just hired them because they like their work. That's what I do. I don't have a degree, I create stuff. People see my work, they see my proof of work, and they hire me based on that. So if the campus in 6 months, you can join a workshop right now, start creating products. I mean, the best way to show that you know design is start creating products. You are a developer, you already code, right? Now think how you can make it visually better. And once you do that, you can always pitch them to the founders who come to your company. Hey, I'm a coder, but I also like visual design. Here's some example of them. I would like to go into product design. Because in product design, you need to have some understanding of development, right? So if they hire someone from ground level who knows coding or development and also know visual design, it's the best package, right? If I'm hiring someone, I'll hire someone then just someone with the visual understanding, because the other visual understanding person will take time to get into the technical part of it. Because he can just say, okay, what if we do this? Will it work? Because he has to ask developer every time. But if you're a developer and designer, you know this won't work. So you won't even ask that question. So just start getting some proof of work, start getting products, even visual graphics would work, and let the higher employers know that okay, you're interested in this. And some good companies also have programs where they pay you to to learn, right? They have sections or some money, some budget for learning. So maybe you can use that to learn and slowly get into design industry. So for example, the example I'll give is that I was working as a real estate purchase manager, and in that same company there was a design team who were working on designing printing. So what I used to do was every week in the last 2 days, I used to just sit with them. They're like, show me what you're doing, show me what you're doing. That, and slowly I learned that skill and transformed from this category to that category, right? This section to that section. So you can make the transition. Again, it's going to be tough getting as a developer, getting into design, getting hired as design, because people need some experience, right? If you get there,
Yep.
they won't train you fully, like for every single thing. So if you know few things, if you have proof of work, you can always convince someone, hey, I'm interested, because people who hire good people knows they don't hire for what you have, they hire for what you can become. They hire for your potential. So if
Yep.
you can show them, they'll hire you.
And the next question is, what kind of design projects one can include in their portfolio, like to show the employers?
Uh, just pretty simple one. You use a mobile app which you design and develop, or like which you design with case study. So if you might have seen on Dribble and other project where people just put pictures. Don't do if you want to get hired. You need to write a case study and tell people how you get there. Now, in case study, people make it pretty boring because they write down like a thesis. Make it a story. Talk to your person who's reading it. For example, if you're designing a credit card app, say that I was going out shopping, but I couldn't buy something with my credit card app because I couldn't open it. I needed 3 times to unlock with my face and my code, and then I can buy it. make it a story. So a mobile app would work. Other would be a dashboard app. If you create a dashboard and create a UI and UX case study out of it, those tools would be enough, more than enough to get you hired. If you create two good case studies, people can see what you're capable of, and they'll definitely hire you.
Yep. So a lot of questions are around creativity. Like they are asking how to be creative. So for me, creativity is like a cup of tea and some poetry. So
Yeah, creativity is different for everyone, but for me, creativity is a process. So again, in the remember if you first time in the first starting of the speaker, I said art and design is different, right? Art is something which you create something, then you give it a meaning. And design, even when you create something, when you do something creative, it has a meaning. You are doing it for a purpose, right? So if you want to be creative, the simplest way to do is start copying other people, start doing what they are doing, copy to copy. I mean, they are not. There's a saying in design industry that nothing is new, nothing is unique, nothing is invented. Everything is repurposes. For example, Web3, gradient and everything. Gradient was here for years, right? We have been using gradient in PowerPoint in 10 years back, right? But now they have used it with a different font and different style, and it has become Web3. It has become the crypto wala thing, right? So just start practicing the old things, copy, copy, copy. Once you copy it, you will understand how they think, how they're creating something new. For example, if you want to create something creative like Visualize Value, who creates one poster a day, if you start copying his style, think how how he thinks, just start copying process. Once you do that one time, it used to be tough for you to copy. You learn something about his tools. The other time, you learn something about his thought process, and third time, you learn something about how fast he thinks on these ideas. It's all about. I mean, for example, let's say, how do you get new ideas for development? Because you think on that level, right? You think, how can I
yeah.
solve this from code? And that's how you get them easily. So you have to change your mindset. When you copy, you start thinking on the design part of it, right? You have a design mindset of how can I solve this problem with creative like visuals, and slowly, slowly you will get creative. Or just start copying stuff. I don't know who's your favorite designer. Choose his, go to his 2 year old works, start copying them, creating exactly. You will see that even when you're copying, you will make mistakes because you won't know the rules, right? You learn them slowly, slowly, and you can become creative. So start copying.
So I think we are done with the questions. Rest are some common questions. We'll take them at Discord. So we have already shared a Discord link. You can shoot all the questions at our design team. They'll be happy to answer you. And we'll like to show some empathy to all the sponsors that we have. You will be able to see the sponsors right here. So they are sponsoring our hackathon. We'll be coming with the hackathon at end of February. It's planned for 25th to 28th February, and we hope you all participate and build good hacks, right? So they'll also need designers to make some pitch decks and make some products that are particularly designed and implemented in that particular time. So we hope you are going to be learning a lot in this month of learnings, right? So our next part will be a web development bootcamp. We'll be coming back on 15th, the coming weekend, and we'll be having 3 workshops on web development to teach you a basic overview of front end, right? So till then, stay tuned, keep learning. Thank you. Thank you, Rahul. Yep.
Are we not live?
Yep.